Alexa, stop. Hello, 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 hello. Oh my goodness. This has been quite a weekend. How is everyone doing? Of course we're talking about the book. It's right here. How is everyone so far though? I'm doing really well. This week was long. I was a little tired, but it was a lot of fun. Had a good week. Stella likes ruining my carpet. Yeah, I know it was you. The weather's kind of bad right now. It's supposed to be spring, but it's like icy and terrible, and it's not warm at all. So let's jump right in. What do we think of this book? How is everyone doing? The name of the song is Dye My Hair by Alma. She also sang the song that I played last week that was Chasing Highs. So, if everyone could fill me in, let's think. What do you think of the book so far? I see amazing, amazing. I have so many quotes, it hurts my hands. That's funny. The book is amazing. I'm so serious. Love this book. Good. I'm glad this book is getting an interesting book. Great style of writing. Yes. Hilarious, heartbreaking at the same time. I agree. I really liked it. I was not expecting to break the fourth wall in the epilogue, right? How cool is that?
He breaks the fourth wall the whole time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say just in the epilogue. That's a very good point. He breaks the fourth wall the entire time from the first page. He's telling you that I'm the creator of this specific universe. It's interesting. This is the first book that we've written where the writer is making you aware that everything that's happening, he's deciding as the creator of the universe. Vonnegut's imagination is so different and unique. Book is cooler than I expected. I'm so glad everyone was very excited and had a good time. Chapter 15 was hard to read. What's chapter 15? Let me look. Okay, so what's the next one? The book felt the same way as playing The Sims did as a kid. I love that analogy. That is awesome. Quirky but amazing. That's so fascinating. So should we talk about favorite parts then? Should we say what was your favorite part? What did you find most interesting? Was it the style of writing? Was it a specific chapter? Was it the ideas that Vonnegut either expressed through himself, the creator, Trout, his creation, or Dwayne Hoover, the person that went crazy? Like, I like how Vonnegut writes about America as a civilization which died out long ago and is addressing an audience who knows nothing of it. Exactly. The way he writes about his characters is so interesting. He really wants you to understand that the characters are robots and they do whatever he wants them to. But also, he was also making interesting references to our creator and this illusion, or I wouldn't say illusion, maybe I would, but of free will and what we mean by that, and how we will say that this creator has instilled in us this understanding of free will, but at the same time we limit ourselves in so many ways. And we've built the world that we live in with all its rules and differences. It's really cool. The way he depicts society, fascinating. I like that he gave spoilers throughout the book that led to the epilogue. Yes, I agree. I love how at the end he went to apologize to his own character. I get putting your characters to hell, but that moment was special. He apologized for everything he did that he didn't have to. I think that's another thing. I think, to me, it seems like in the universe of the book, you will get that from your creator. You will get that, hey, Kilgore, I'm sorry I did terrible. You had a terrible life, but I'm going to make up for it, and you're chill now. Imagine that, because I think, remember there's that one scene where he talks about the rattlesnake with the venom, and he's like, it's interesting about our creator that he created this weapon, essentially, this animal weapon. He's commenting on that juxtaposition, that comparison, that like back and forth, you can say, I think. What do you guys think about that? Chapter 23 is my favorite. I love the repeated and so on, kind of calling it so it goes. Yes, that's a theme. I'm not a theme, but he does that a lot. his other books also. I would challenge you guys to read God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater now that we've seen Elliot Rosewater in multiple books. It'd be cool to do that. Yeah, I'd have a Breakfast of Champions right now. And he picked at facets that we wouldn't pay attention to, and he put them out of context of like American propaganda. He put them in words that he was like, well, when people are saying this, isn't it strange that they're saying this? They're trying to get you to say this. It's incredible. Jordan! Everyone say hi to Jordan Morello. I wonder why he only wanted to tell that one character in his particular books. Well, he said it. He said it. I wanted to tell Kilgore Trout because he was the only character I've ever written that thought that maybe he could be just the imagination of some writer in some book. Talk to his parakeet about it. Oh, I mean, I don't know why he cried at the end. I'd have to read it like 5 more times, but there's so much depth. He met the creator. The creator apologized for the life that Trout had become accustomed to. The idea that he was never meant to do anything and that his books would never achieve anything, that he just felt the need to keep giving. And then he was like validated through all of that, and then it was taken away. All of the answers, all of the questions Kilgore had always wanted to ask were gone right there because he was only the creation that was limited to what this man wanted to create. The creator. He couldn't see outside of what the creator wanted. Right? Or did he actually have that, have the ability to do that? And that's what the creator was telling him. I got behind the comments. I'm going to skip forward. Amazing after chapter 21, but I love all the book. Symbols can be beautiful sometimes. Yes. I feel like if read out loud, every sentence in this book would end with a sigh and a defeated glance at the window. Maybe. I know that Tess and I read out loud, and it was a lot of fun. We alternated paragraphs, and that really helps drive the story. And remember, you're getting this story from the creator of the universe himself, so it's a very interesting thing to do, to read out loud. This is a good one to do that. I think I'll read Slaughterhouse again at some point. Totally. When he speaks about the fact that we must adapt ourselves to chaos and not order. I love that. Why? Because only in our creations is there order. Why? This is something that Diego said to me once. He's like, I feel like art is there meant to be like an ark to save us from the world and meant to teach us and help us understand what's actually going on. So in art, there can be order. In art, there's a beginning, middle, and end. Think about it. In this book, there was. He starts at the beginning, tells you the story of these 2 people that are going to meet for a crazy reason because he wants them to, and then he's going to end it, and it's perfect. Everything makes sense. He has all the answers because he's created that universe. He's the master of his domain. But in his universe, he's not. Fascism was a very popular political philosophy that made the nation or race to which philosopher belonged, demanded an autocratic, centralized government commanded by a dictator. His life had meaning before until he met his creator. That's why he cried. Exactly. His life had some meaning before until he met his creator. Yes, I agree. That discovery that, wait, this is all made up by someone else. That's interesting. Wow, that's sad. Dark. I like his talking about environmental stuff. He's commenting on a lot that makes you feel like he could have written this book in the last 5 years. I mean, and think about it, Vonnegut died 11 years ago on the 11th of April. So it's just, his 11th year anniversary was recently, but he made it to the era of cell phones and stuff. But I'd be interested to see how he felt about privacy and that question with the whole Facebook thing, and how he'd feel about the current administration, the current place in the world with everything going on. I'd really be interested to see what he thinks about that and what a book might be that he'd write. You're surrounded by loving machines, hating machines, greedy machines, unselfish machines, brave machines, cowardly machines, truthful machines, lying machines, funny machines. I think the idea of the creative universe was interesting because Vonnegut was also the creator of the universe. But I think we all may be the creator of our universe as we determine how we see it. And just as Dwayne Hoover chose to believe that he was the only person that had free will and everyone else was a robot, we can choose to believe whatever we wish and no one can tell us otherwise. That's a scary thing almost, because we are the creators of our universes, yet we all somehow follow the same rules that keep a lot of us safe. It's an interesting thing. Vonnegut makes it clear that there is so much in the world that makes him angry, but even in the face of murder, hate, racism, and greed, he can't help but care about people and sympathize with them. Why? Because they're all philoboid studges. They're all pillars of salt. Okay, stop asking for my cat. She's mine. Don't even think about it. Thank you. The way he speaks about American society is fascinating. He doesn't try to make it softer, to give it some kind of perfection. It's wicked and he knows it. It's like when he writes about suicide in America. GA Book Lover, can you tell me who speaks, who like reads for you for that audiobook? That's interesting. Like I want to know what actor or person reads. This book was a sad slice of metafiction that still manages to find a sense of humor about what an awful nightmare it is to exist in this world. This world that he has mentioned was already dying before you got here. This world that you had no choice to come to. And this world that you feel as though sometimes everyone's a robot and sometimes you feel like you're the creator of the universe. It's all-encompassing. But within it, you have the ability to create your universes. Think about it. He was the creator of the universe, so he had full power. He's like, I decided they're going to do this, and I knew everything that Trout was thinking, I was making him think. Fascinating. I think Tessa loved this book. Yes, very much enjoyed it. What do you think about Harry LeSabre? I feel bad for Harry LeSabre. I think the chemicals in Dwayne Hoover's mind made him act all irrational. And if anything, think about it. Harry LeSabre escaped all this because he decided to be the creator of his own universe and leave. He was like, you know what? This is not making me happy. This is what we want to do, so they did it. It's very interesting. I don't understand why Dwayne went crazy. One book cannot do that, right? He's a lot of things on his mind. I think that's another comment Vonnegut might be making, is the power of a book. A book can do that. And I think that's something that he might be saying. To me, I think it does. I think it makes perfect sense that he felt something that was so clear and true with these weird chemicals that it made him think 100%. He's like, wow. I am the only person in the world with free will. Everyone else is just a robot designed to interact with me and create this environment in which I am currently living. How are we doing on time, everybody? Can we check in? The ending felt like a metaphorical death for Kilgore, though. He essentially met his maker and didn't even know how to process information. Not only that, but then he realized that... I don't know, imagine if the creator of the universe came down and was like, yo, you're actually the only one. You're going to get everything you want now, and you're the only one that knows that I exist, and everything that happens, I create. How did novels change after that idea as well? Harry is one of my favorite, but I really love the way that Dwayne's character changed throughout the story. The book is so deep, meaning it's amazing. Thank you. I think it's cool too. At the core of each person who reads a book is a band of unwavering light. Well, this was a very interesting book for that. The writer, Vonnegut, is very clear with us, and he's very open with us, and he talks about his life as too. I think, was it Dwayne Hoover's mother that committed suicide? He tells us about how his mother committed suicide when he was young. Vonnegut had a very difficult life as well. If you ever want to look it up, it's interesting. He had a very interesting life. And I think that's cool that he puts a piece of himself for him to relate to in his universes. John Malkovich read the book. That's amazing. I would get that. And let's talk about that paragraph about women. The one, they train themselves to be agreeing machines instead of thinking machines. All their minds had to do was discover what other people were thinking and when they thought that too. Sorry guys, I'm catching up on comments. To cover what? Oh, was the mic covered again? Harry was the favorite character and I was glad he got away. I don't know if he's my favorite character. I feel like he wasn't in enough. I really felt for him because he was just trying to do its best. His brain did just make it a reality, and that's the scary thing. Like, we don't decide that. Did anyone else feel depressed reading? I felt like it was a window into the mind of someone who was struggling with some really dark thoughts. I know at one point in Vonnegut's career, Vonnegut did attempt suicide, and it was something he did struggle with, I think. It was later in his life that he did so too. So I feel like he does put a lot of himself out there. And in his books, and it's interesting. 15 minutes in. We're only 15 minutes in. We've talked so much. It's so good. The name of the book is Breakfast of Champions, guys. Breakfast of Champions. Guys, please, we're talking about this book. Let's try to stay focused on this book and the questions we have for it and stuff like that. I'm seeing your suggestions, but I really want to stay focused on this book. That's why we're here today, to talk about this book, the end of it. Do you think that the drawings, page breaks, and self-referential moments add to the story or detract from it? Well, they're part of Vonnegut's creation, so they add to the story. End of discussion. You know, that's the way he created this universe, in the universe of this book. In those drawings and things, he's saying things, and there's a reason why he feels the need to explain everything. And I think they have to be part of the story. He wrote it there. It'd be wrong for us to say it shouldn't be. But it's interesting for us to argue about why. Do you not think that they are? Okay, I ran behind in comments, so I just skipped to the front. You don't like the way Vonnegut talks about women? I think it's very interesting the way he speaks of women. I think he speaks very highly of them in some regard, and is always trying to ironically draw out things. Like when he talks about how Patty King had become this agreeing machine, he's commenting on the role and the status of women in society, and he even says it in his books. He even says it in that paragraph. He says, like, they're completely capable, extremely amazing, smart animals just like men, but unfortunately the way society's kind of like structured it is now they have to behave a certain way to protect themselves. I think it's an interesting comment he's making. At the time he wrote it and what he's trying to say, he's trying to bring that out. Oh, wow, cool. I love that you felt connected to these characters. That's interesting. I like the idea that our actions can affect people that we don't even think it would. Our actions can change people's lives, like the butter knife. Like, that's exactly what he's saying, though. Remember, he commented about how something crazy was happening in one end of the world, and people had no idea that it was going to affect this, but it did. Yeah, I feel so bad about Dwayne's relationship to his son. That was very interesting. I felt bad for Dwayne, everyone in Dwayne's life. But that's the thing. Look at how destructive it was when someone thought that they were the only living being in the universe. Think about that. That's the comment he's saying. Like, this selfishness or this idea that you are the only living one does nothing but destroy the people around you, and it destroys you. I don't know if his universe was bleak. I think his universe was really truthful and honest. And everyone was a band of wavering light, and how they chose to behave is how their universe was. But it is a much darker view, I think. I would agree with you there, that it has a very, interesting air about it. Every human being in the room must be worth a great novel. Wow. No, I completely agree about the drawings and everything adding to the story. I just read how some people think they detract from it. I think that this book without the drawings wouldn't be the same. I would agree. Well, it takes away the device that he's explaining to the reader. But that's one thing. Does he think the reader is someone in his universe? Why does he feel the need to explain certain things? To the reader. Like, why? I love that. Goodbye, Monday. I would agree, Sarah Elizabeth. I think he had a very interesting perception of, he had a very perception of people's roles in society as well. How society should behave, how people should behave. Remember, he had very, very strict rules. Oh my god, I fell so far behind. I just jumped up to the front again, guys. I'm sorry if I missed a bunch of your comments. Okay, let's talk about that with Nala. I can't pronounce that. Takes all kinds of people to make up the world. I love that. That's one of my favorite quotes. When it's all a spectrum and everyone has to be there to create the entirety of it. And if we are all in wavering light, we can choose to see ourselves as that, to be individuals, not to follow along as though we are programmed. Yes. I like how Kurt brought in things from his own life. His dad's shins and feet were trouts. It's really interesting. Well, I love that because it's like, oh, the creator of the universe, of course. That's cool. Listening to the book was weird because I couldn't see the drawings, but the narrator describes them. It made me pay more attention to the drawings because I couldn't bypass them. I don't know if there was a question I would ask Vonnegut about this book. I maybe would ask him just like, my favorite drawing is of the asshole. I think it's funny. I don't know what I would ask him. I really like it. I'd be like, what's the most important question you ask yourself every day when you look at the world? Like, how do you see the world? Like, I'd want to put those glasses on for a second. I think that'd be cool. What is the purpose of life? To be the eyes, ears, and consciousness of the creator of the universe, you fool. Yes, that's my favorite quote. I think it's deep, it has a lot of meanings, and it's cool. I think you should pin a comment where it says what book we're talking about. I feel like we said it many times. It's Breakfast of Champions. Also, the way he draws you in and then immediately breaks the fourth wall and has you thinking about themes rather than becoming too engaged like Brechtian theater. He's constantly challenging the reader. His books aren't books to just breeze through and never think about. His books are things that are literally bringing things in society that we don't often question or are not taught to question or think about. He's like, don't you think it's weird that we do this? And the way he says it, you're like, whoa, I've always said weird. Love that. It's crazy to me how much of this criticism this book has about American society is painfully relevant today. I agree. Interesting, though. He shows that every person you meet is the reason for some impact in your life. Guys, book of time about Breakfast of Champions. The way he spoke of being machines doomed to collide is interesting because fan of collision where we want to collide, crash meet other people maybe because it makes us feel more human. I like how Vonnegut is honest about everything. I think humanity is the fact that it's all a shared experience. Yeah, I agree with you. That's cool. Checked himself in the character of the story. Love that. How crazy was that game, African Dodger? But think about it. He's like, that existed not long ago. Not long enough that we can't be like, that's gross. Like, people participated in that are still alive. Just crazy. It's just like the world has changed. He's literally, I don't know. I love this book. I'm glad I read it again. I'm glad we read it. And this has been really cool. How much time do we have, guys? What's it looking like? Now, when I'm explaining Vonnegut's point of view, that's my point of view based on what I think Vonnegut's saying because of what we've seen in his other writing and how he describes things and what he's always been doing, commenting on society and commenting on things and bringing things up. And he's a humanist. He believes in people. He's a tremendous belief in people, and that fuels a lot of his viewpoints and a lot of his beliefs. Think about it. He, as an American veteran of World War II, he openly does not celebrate Veterans Day because he feels it glorifies war in a way. And he's like, war should never be glorified. He said it in the beginning of Slaughterhouse-5. He's telling his sons, he's like, you're never to participate in war, you're never to fight people, you're never to pretend to shoot guns, it's all terrible. That's not a very common, not that that's not common, but there's an interesting perspective there. 25, 30 minutes left, guys. Cool. Do you want to do quotes? What do you guys want to talk about next about this book? I'm down for anything. He was quite vulgar in his description because he wants people to sit up and take notice. Many people said that Kurt is racist because of the book there are a few racist comments by Dwayne, but I think that he just tries to put Dwayne in the place to understand America's point of view. Also, the small city that they grew up in, which was... forgive me if I'm overstepping my bounds here and my understanding, but my understanding is that there are a bunch of cities like that where they are extremely segregated, and there is a class divide that can be racial. There are parts of the city where only a certain population of people hang out, another part not, and the parts where they very frequently or infrequently connect is a part where there are very, very, very specific roles that they have to play in society, which, when you look at it from the perspective of now, how much has that changed? How much is that the same? How much has that changed from just people of color to maybe women and people of color? Or what the communities now have a visibility and have the ability to say things where at that time they didn't? Or the role, think about it, they said like the only work that certain communities of people could have was very specific to that community. It's interesting. The book was published in 73, I believe. Let me look at that real quick. '73. 1973 was original publishing. Crazy. This book is like 40 years old. When a person dies, he only appears to die. Yeah, totally cool. But it's also, it leaves out the room for interpretation to be like, oh, cool, I wonder what that picture looks like. Or I wonder what specifically. And he's like, no, this is how I'm thinking of this. I'm really glad that everyone's enjoying this book. I'm glad that we've had this really cool discussion. It's been fun. I've had a good time with this book. It's exhausting having to reason all the time in a universe which wasn't meant to be reasonable. And I think that's what art does. It brings reason to a universe that makes no sense. It helps us understand specific events and put stories on them so that we can teach and learn. It's a very important thing. And I think this book really kind of, to me, makes me understand that. Induction last week, and during lunch break, I reread part, and one of the older women there mentioned how she'd read it, and it was never when it was newer, and how she found it interesting. I love how she tells penis size of every male character. It makes you realize how ridiculous to compare one to the other most of the time. Also, how that's like on the forefront of what a lot of people think about. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, such a thing in like masculinity to talk about that and be so strange when he's like, but every man has one, and this is like, it's just different. Like as people, it's so weird. He's drawing, like, remember, he's constantly trying to be like, look what we put our attention on. Look how we go about our attention itself. It's hilarious, and it's awesome, and it's funny the way he's doing it. He's like calling out how weird everyone is. He's like, isn't it weird that we do this? We all do it. I'm really happy that everyone's enjoying the books. I'm really happy that everyone's... this has been really cool. And I was wrong before. I think I said 9th book, 10th book. We're on the 9th book. The 10th book is the next book, which is exciting. You didn't care about the penis size. It was annoying. I think that was also the point. It got to the point where it became annoying because he brought it up quite a few times. We're like, all right, enough already. I don't need to know how big this guy's dick is. Like, chill. But I think there was a... Like, he does that. I don't know. I think in this universe, he's very measured. And when he creates it, he wants it to be specific. But I would agree. And wasn't it funny? It went from one paragraph to the next where it was like it ended, and then it was like, and by the way, this guy has this size dick and this guy has this size dick. The average size dick is this, but people worried about this, so most people did this. And he's like, it's as if we're from another planet, and he's trying to help us understand what's happening down here. Katrin Mosier, you are killing it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe Kurt Vonnegut explained things to draw a line between his universe and us, so we can have our free will and think about the topics he writes about. He never talks about our role as the reader into this universe. He knows he's letting us in. He knows we have whatever we want, so he's going to be specific in how he explains things. But at the end of the day, it's his universe that he's creating, and we're only looking at it through like a window. It's cool. The lines about feeding people garbage, the digestible poison, the buying happiness, I think it's all still relevant to today's society. I wonder how relevant it is in just society. Maybe not just today's. How often are people worried about this? I wonder if he saw himself as Kilgore. Kilgore often wrote about another species trying to save the humans, but the humans never listen. They're inconvenienced by the truth. I think he definitely sees himself in part as a Kilgore trout. I mean, who else besides the sun would have their father's legs and feet? And he is a science fiction writer, and he does feel like he can, look at the future in a way. And I think remember he talks about the role of science fiction writers, and That's another thing that happens in God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. So you guys really liked this book. I would suggest diving in that one after. It's really cool. My favorite is Kilgore Trout, and I'll say because he's an artist that kept giving art. He didn't know people were reading it. He didn't know where it was going. He wasn't making money off of it. But he kept writing. Why? Because he had to. Just what he did. He wrote. And I love that. Because that's something that I think as an artist is always a very interesting question to ask. Why do we give? Why do we do art? What is the point? Is it for the performance aspect of it and people wanting to see us and we enjoy that? Is it selfish? Is it we want the attention? Is it also we understand the depth that it can be? Can it be something that we can teach? Is it something that inspires? Will we read more Kurt Vonnegut books? Art for art's sake. Exactly, Catchin. You and I are on the same page. Do you think we'll read more of Vonnegut's books in the future? That I do not know. That I do not know. Maybe. I still think Kilgore is the craziest and everybody else in the book. You know what? I don't think it's a bad thing, but I would agree with you. He's got an interesting way of seeing things. Right? How if we could, I would read all of Kilgore Trout's novels. I think they're so cool. All right, everyone. I think now we'll start wrapping down. I'm so glad to have read this book again with you. It was incredible. I loved it. I love Kurt Vonnegut. I really highly recommend all of his other work. His letters are really cool. I was just up late last night, guys. I'm not really that sick, but thank you, guys. The name of the next book is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. It's a book that I read in high school. I haven't read since. Haven't really thought about since. So it's going to be very interesting. I will post on Rosende Reads this week how far we're reading. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Sunday again. So you guys know, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Sunday. We'll probably read around 100 pages, maybe like 80, because we're going to get into this book. I don't want to give us too much for the first week. We did not decide on anything. I'm thinking of doing a live on like Wednesday or Thursday just to talk about the next few books I'm going to pick during the week. There's 12 chapters. Oh, cool. That's not that many. It's a smaller book. I'm not going to lie. I haven't purchased the book yet. Been busy. But I will do that this weekend too. Are we going to book clubs on Sundays pretty much from now? We are every once in a while. I think maybe we should stop. I think so. They just work better for me Sundays. We will do Saturdays occasionally so that we're not always like leaving out our Australian friends. But Sundays seem to work. They tend to work better for me, guys. So I think that's what we're going to be doing. Recommending books, I'd say anything Kurt Vonnegut right now. That's the mindset I'm in. Cat's Cradle's fantastic. Bluebeard's one of his first. That's pretty interesting. AC3 photography, Ace photography. I use the Sony A7S II, and then a lot of that's either shot on a 24 to 70 millimeter or a 55 millimeter lens, a Zeiss 55 or a G 24 to 70. And remember, Elliot Rosewater talks about Kilgore Trout too. All of his universes are semi-connected. So if you really want to read more about Kilgore and maybe hear more of his novels, you'll get a couple from Elliot. Happy 18th birthday! That's super cool. It has been absolutely awesome talking to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for reading 9 books, guys. I'm so proud of us. This has been an incredible accomplishment. Next week, I will see you guys for Lord of the Flies. We will talk this week to talk about how much to read and what we're doing, what's our plan. Thank you, guys. I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great weekend. Have fun. Have a great week. Remember, keep questioning, keep being curious, keep being a positive force of change in your world. And try to look at the world as Kilgore Trout this week. Ask questions. Make things sound ridiculous. Don't call it a car. Call it a gasoline guzzling alien. That, you know what I mean? Like I think it'd be fun. It's fun to do stuff like that. I will see you guys next week. We will talk soon. thank you so much for an amazing conversation. This was one of my favorite books, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Goodbye, guys. Until next time.